Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 50 Shades of Over 50. And I have as my fabulous guest this week, Amy Rees. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Quabi.
Hello. I'm so excited to have you here today. So, my first question that I always ask all my guests is, how old are you?
I am 55, double fives.
Yay! All right. So, Amy, tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'll fast forward through my whole life. 55 years is a lot to go through. I'm one of those people originally from New York, but I think of myself as from Atlanta since I've lived here for over 33 years. Started out one of the many, many Atlantans who started their career at CNN. So I'm a CNN alum, been here 33 years. I have been married and divorced a couple times. So I am married to, as we say, third time's the charm. Third husband, number three. He's fantastic, my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. We have 4 daughters between us, so nice blended family, lots of women, and of course, my favorite child, the Goldendoodle, Cleo.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Yay.
What else do you want to know about me?
I'm going to ask you a few more questions so that they can get to know about you. But, I really love how you kind of talked about your life, where you are. And you know what? You're very open. And I love that because I want women listening to know that, you know what? Maybe they're in that situation where they've been married before. They're like, oh, can I still do this? Yes. And how old were you when you had when you got married for the third time? How old?
For the third time, so we've been married 4 years. So I was 51.
Yes. So ladies,
Married
listen,
at 51.
because I hear this from ladies all the time, like, oh, they're over 50. Is not, no. It can still happen.
I know plenty of women over 50 who are finding Mr. Right and getting married. And I'll tell you what, there's a big difference about getting married in your 50s to, not a first husband.
Yeah.
We are both coming from such a place of appreciation for each other.
Mm.
No marriage is perfect, please, So
Yeah.
I always like to tell people he is by no means perfect, but he's perfect for me.
Yes.
Right?
I love that. Oh, I love that. That's great. All right. So tell us about what you're doing now, because you've started something new in your 50s that, we want to know. We want to hear about it. So tell us about that.
All right. So I am what I call a career salesperson, where I hopped around from a lot of different sales jobs and corporate sales. And because of COVID, it was not going so well financially for me with the sales. I love to tell everybody which is true, when COVID hit, I was selling movie theater advertising. And as we all know, I tell everybody to stop and kind of process that for a minute. Trying to sell advertising at the movie theaters during COVID. I don't think I need to explain anything else to anybody when I tell them that's what I was doing. So I took a beat. And like I said, my wonderful husband had found a new job. He had insurance for us. And he said, you know what? I'm sure a lot of women are going to relate to this too. When you get divorced and you have kids, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you are financially responsible for more than just yourself. And we tend to focus all our energy on our children and household responsibilities. So for 10 plus years, I focused completely on what I had to do and who I had to take care of.
Right.
So then I'm lucky enough that I did get married, but I'm going to also say, if I hadn't married him, my kids were still at that point where they were out of the house. So I think everything kind of aligned for me anyway, that I was in a place to take a chance on myself.
Yes. Okay. Can we just process that, ladies? This is a statement that we all need to process and realize that it's available to every single person on this call, that you can decide to take a chance on yourself, or what I like to call bet on yourself, because you know what? No one else is going to do that for you. I'm just saying. So keep going.
And I do like to share that, because I don't want people hearing, oh, well, she got married, that's why she did it. That is
Nope.
not why I did it. But again, everything for me, it was what they call a perfect storm, right? I found myself in a completely different situation than I had been in a long time, right? With the kids kind of in college on their own, not needing me so much. Was taken care of. I'd kind of gotten to a place, and I was looking at a job that was not a career anymore.
Mm.
And again, yes, lucky, I will always say it, lucky, lucky, lucky that I had this wonderful new husband that had the insurance for us and all that. So I didn't have to think about those pieces, but I would hope that wouldn't stop anybody else.
Yeah. And I want to say this, when you live in the States, because if you're watching this and you live in a different country, you won't understand probably the importance of insurance. And because I've lived in England, so I understand that living here, when you don't have medical insurance, it's almost like you don't have a backup plan. Insurance is so important, and more especially as we get older. When you don't have insurance, that means you pay for everything out of pocket. And listen, in the States, it is very expensive without insurance. So, I mean, I know of women who have stayed at a job that they don't like because of the insurance.
Yes,
That's how that's how important insurance is. And I wish it were different, but that's just the way the system works for now. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's completely true though. And that's why I like to keep saying I do understand that I'm blessed to have this extra person all of a sudden after 11 years that could be a safety net for me.
Yes. Yes.
But a lot of it isn't, some of it isn't financial. A lot of us are just afraid to take the, like you said, we're still afraid to bet on ourselves, whether we have the money or we use money as an excuse.
Yes.
Right? Oh, I can't afford to quit my job. Well, it's not about that. It's about taking the chance on yourself.
That's the thing. It's about taking that risk. And the thing is, what I tell women at this age is you have to decide that later on, like towards the end, that do you want to have regrets? Or do you want to say, you know what, at least I tried. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Or you're always left with that question if you don't take that extra step. And Amy, you're right. Sometimes it's not really about the money. It's just about delving into something different. I know women who can afford to do this and are still worried and scared. And I'll tell you this, that is just how our brain is designed. Because some of you thinking, oh, maybe it's just me, maybe because of my age. No. Whenever you try to do something new, your brain is going to sabotage you. That is just how the brain is designed, because the brain is designed to keep you safe. That's just how the brain is. So whenever you do something new, your brain's going to be like, why are we doing this? You sure? No, you shouldn't really be doing this. And then all the doubt, you are flooded with all the doubts. And eventually, depending, you can sometimes decide, you know what, maybe not a good idea. And especially if you tell other people and they're not quite on board, they're like, but why'd you want to do that? You have this good job. Why do you want to change? Well, I mean, and you're older now. You really want to go through all that? Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have some kind of desire or goal to do something differently and it keeps on coming up, there's a reason for that. It's because you're meant to do it. And regardless of whether it works out or not, I'll tell you this. Hands down, I guarantee you'll be a different person after that process, and a different person for the better. Always. I'm just saying. So consider those thoughts that keep coming up and you're like, I can't do that. Maybe maybe you need to reconsider and start thinking, how can I make it happen? But go ahead. So what was coming up for you that you kind of like, let me see.
Well, right. So the things that it was still financial, because again, third husband. So we still have that in our mind, you still have that sense of, I need to be responsible for myself. And it's very hard to let go of that fear of finances, no matter what stage you are in. And for me, I still had that kind of over my head, right? Can I take that chance financially on myself? When I put that aside, it's, I actually am not a fan of this expression. So, everybody says imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. For me, it's really all that is fear of failure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because we're all afraid of having somebody look at our work, look at our product, listen to what we're presenting, and have people say, oh, that's not so great. Or why do you think you're so special? Or right? Like that. So there was that fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear that fear that we put in ourselves. What if nobody else understands or likes it?
And you know what? When you say that, you know what comes to mind? I really feel that the reason why that sometimes happens is I want all of you listening now to imagine, like, what is the worst thing that can happen when you decide to bet on yourself? And I'm going to tell you this, the worst thing that can happen is an emotion. Seriously, it could be shame, it could be humiliation, it could be, like, those anxiety, those are the emotions that we deal with when we bet on ourselves. And you know what? We are scared to experience that emotion because no one really wants to kind of experience shame or humiliation. Like, no one wants to do that. But guess what? You run the risk of experiencing that when you bet on yourself, when you do something new. And the bottom line is that is the bottom line. Like, that is the reason why most people don't go out. They're like, oh no, I don't want to deal with that. No. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, that was, my dog
Yeah,
announced the doorbell.
that's fine. We love dogs. We love our dogs. Please, that's fine.
Yeah, and what you just said kind of rang true too. So something you said, and I'm going to jump on. One of the reasons why I did take that next step is I brought somebody else into the fold that I trusted and respected. And it's another woman. So there's a lot more to this, but the long and the short of it is my neighbor does sourcing. And my husband said, why don't you just talk to Jennifer about your plates? So my business is AmyWynne Designs. The plates are called personality plates. And I did pottery for many, many, many years. I have hand-built, hand-painted boxes of plates. And they're always there and they're out in view and people see them. And when are you going to do something with this? Well, it's not the time. It's not the right time, right? So there I have all my sets of plates that I had hand built and hand painted. And my husband said, why don't you show them to our neighbor? She does sourcing. Why don't you see if she can find a way for you to scale a business and mass produce and sell the plates? So I did. And this woman came over. Sometimes it's easier to take the chance on one known person, because if she had looked and said, oh, again, she's a professional, so I wasn't going to take it personally. If she had looked and said, I don't think these could sell, or I don't think there's a market for these, right? I knew she wasn't going to make a comment on, she couldn't hurt my feelings at that point because she was looking at it as a business. But when she saw them and she's like, these are great, these will sell, I could see how we could market these. And she got so excited. I thought, let's do it. And within, I want to say within a week, I'd already ordered a set of samples. And just just like that, all of a sudden.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what that brings to me? That brings to me, the thought of, and this is what I tell my clients all the time. Sometimes we just need one person to believe in us. That's all. And that's what I do with my clients, is like, believe in them. And in your case, it was your neighbor. She believed in your product. And that alone was like, okay, we're going, let's do this. And you ran with it after that. And that's what we all need. We need that one person that can believe in us while we're making this happen. Because, our belief in whatever we're doing when it's new, it's really shaky. It's not, we don't have a lot of belief, and that's okay, because that's normal, because you've never done it before. So you don't know, but having someone else, oh my goodness, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And, and again, having validation, we all, let's call it out what it is. We all like to be validated. We do. And having validation. So I think you're going to appreciate this, because of course, this is how we met, is by choosing. We choose to surround ourselves with women who are going to validate and support us. Now, I want to be clear, you don't want yes men, right? Or yes women. We don't want people who are just want us to like them. And, and again, you've got your close friends. And this is something I preach every time I get interviewed or talk to anybody. I think it's great. Have your friends, but don't mistake that your friends are there to help you with your business.
So
right?
true. Oh my goodness. Can you please
Right.
say that again? Because women
Are-
listening are probably going to be like, why aren't they supporting me? My family, my friends, unless
yeah. But I'm going to say it for two reasons. Number one, it's going to be one or the other. You might have friends who, for whatever reason, they might not like, and I'm lucky. Again, I'm such a fortunate person, but I think from go, I've always surrounded myself with women who support me. Like even as I'm an only child. So I always was looking for sisters. A whole life I've looked for sisters because I didn't have any.
it's
But I do have friends or colleagues or women that I've met, or even in these entrepreneur Facebook groups where I keep hearing women who are brokenhearted because their best friends and are not supporting them. And I think, but your friends aren't your friends. Don't mix. Didn't we always say don't mix our business and pleasure? Haven't we always said that? You don't, I don't want to be gross, but we always used to say, don't poop where you eat, remember those expressions
yeah.
for so have your friends, enjoy your friendships. They're your friends for a reason, but
Yes.
try to find a group of women that are doing what you're doing or that are already where you aspire to be.
Yes.
Find the women that you admire and respect that you want to be when you grow up, and connect with them and
Yes.
and find those women, and the more you'll get the validation and support you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's so important because when we have friendships, friendships are in circles, and not all the circles overlap. You might have just your childhood friends that you hang with. You might have your friends who are business people. You might have friends you've met through maybe family friends, maybe through your spouse and things like that. But all the circles don't have to overlap, And so when you start a business, you will be heartbroken and disappointed every time if you're dependent on your friends to support you in your business. I'm telling you, you're going to be heartbroken, disappointed constantly. And so I want you to kind of, expand your expectations to other people. And for whatever reason, sometimes your friends don't understand your business. That's why they're not supporting you. Sometimes they're your friend just for the friendships that they enjoy with you and not necessarily your business. And so you have to be open to that idea because you're out here running a business. You're not out here selling just to your friends. In fact, let me tell you this. As a business owner, I'm always more excited when people I don't even know that have no connection to me, pay for my services because I'm like, they're paying for it because of me, not because of, and I love my friends, I love my family, but I get overly excited when people that don't know me personally purchase my services. I get excited.
Well, because that's what makes it the business too, right? And I tell my friends all the time, I do not look to my friends to buy my product, because if I was doing that, I'd be done after like a couple months. Right?
True.
So you can't make your circle so small that you need your friends to buy your product. I always tell them, I don't need you to buy my products. Love me, just be my friends, right? Their friendships
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
what got me here. I just need my friends to be my friends.
Yeah.
Hey, and if they want to promote, like I have a lot of friends who will repost right on
Yeah.
social
Exactly.
media or
Promote for you.
share or
Yeah.
introduce me to somebody. Hey, that's great. But
Yeah.
I'm not asking them to do that. And if they want it, I love it. That's great. But again, like you said, you've got to have you and some level, you got to keep business and personal separate. You really
Yeah.
do. And that's
Yeah.
that's how we find success, right? And
Yes.
and I've met so many women if I stayed in my circle of friends, I would not have met you, right? There's so many women in my life I would not have met if I hadn't stepped outside my comfort zone.
Yes. I tell people you need to step out of the comfort zone into the adventure zone. I'm telling you, there's a lot of fun in the adventure zone. So tell us why what's the story behind these plates?
Oh, well, my story is about all my friendships and the women.
Oh,
In my first marriage, it was very difficult for me. I was young. I was 25, 26 years old, if we all remember to being that age, madly in love. But my husband just wasn't really in the marriage like I was. He was with his friends. I would say he was playing with his friends. right? He, doing his thing, leaving me home by myself. And I was sad. I was lonely. I felt unloved. And also we had moved out, in Atlanta, for anybody who is watching in Atlanta, or if you live in one of those cities that, people live in the suburbs. I was very secluded. So we were out in the suburbs. I was away from everybody else and feeling very alone. And I was sad. It was a very, very, very hard time for me. And one of the women that I had met out in the suburbs, she was doing a pottery class, and she and I would walk, and I would tell her, I opened up. And again, this is important for this conversation.
Yeah.
You can't keep everything inside. You can't keep everything bottled up. Even if you find one person, whether it's a coach or a friend or a sister, confide in somebody. We cannot do this alone. So I shared with her what I was going through, and she told me to come to pottery class.
Wow.
So the long and the short of it was a couple of years of pottery class, and I was surrounded all these, with so many women, a couple men even, but the women tend to flock together at the pottery tables. So I just got that camaraderie I've been looking for. Maybe a temporary family, because once you get started with a hobby like that, it's a lot of the same women coming back. So it was the same ladies week after week, month after month. We're all working together, and I had so much fun. And then one day I looked down, and I was hand making a plate, and I just saw a lady's face in it.
Wow.
And I just started going and going, and I started creating women's faces. I made face plates, I called them. And they were 3-dimensional, and they were colorful and bright, and they all had a name and a story.
Ooh.
And it was so fun. I got all these stories and, adventures that maybe I hadn't lived, but I was thinking about, right, on these plates. And I started selling them in some of the stores, and it was a hobby of mine for years and years and years. And then over time, I got divorced, got remarried, got divorced. And through all that, I started kind of I just saw a business, I just saw it kind of like I saw that first plate. So I started making appetizer sized ones that were not as 3-dimensional, that you could have you could use, but anybody who's worked with clay and pottery, it's just, they're very fragile. I don't trust the chemicals that are in the product, so they're pretty to look at. And that's where I came up with it. It just was, they were in my head. And I think part of it was my bond that I'd been making with women all these years were kind of motivating me in my designs.
It's funny. I remember earlier you talked about, being an only child. You always looked for like sister friends. I feel the same way. I'm not an only child, but I'm an only girl. And so for me, I love being surrounded by women. Like even my business is just women. I love, that whole group and just being together, especially with like-minded women. It's just, the energy is just amazing.
Yes.
So tell us about the names. So you have specific names for your personality plates. What are their names?
So, I'll tell you, when I was doing them, when I was hand making each one and selling them, I was doing commission pieces. So somebody would say, can you make a brunette for me with brown eyes? And can you name her Tess, my friend? So I was doing that. But I made a bunch. I had an Alexa. I had Zelda was my first woman. Zelda. So that's the lady with the bob, the black-haired bob.
Yes.
She is Zelda. She has leopard print.
Mm-hmm.
And she is carried through all of my lines. So of course, my very first set, which I named the Sisters Edition, because they are in honor of all my sisters. So that's my first set I came out with. And of course, Zelda is in that first set. It's not listed on anything because, as if you were to buy them, I didn't want to personalize them because I can't personalize each one because they're being mass produced. Yes. Right. Yeah. But between me and you and whoever's listening, her name's Zelda.
So cool. Oh my goodness. This is just, and now you have this business. Now you have this personality plates that started from many years ago. And see, this is the thing for a lot of us. most of the dreams didn't start today. A lot of us have these dreams of we've had for a long time. Like for you, that was goodness when you were in your 20s. And look at now, you're birthing this whole idea based on something from many years ago out into the world in your 50s. And I want women listening to really dig deep and think about some of the things that you want to put out into the world that you've thought about for so many years and you keep kind of suppressing it. I want you to kind of just ask yourself why you're not allowing yourself to actually put it out into the world. Like ask yourself that question and be honest with the answer that you present to yourself. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So do you have any of the plates for us to see today? Do you have any of them?
I do, but I have to get up from my seat.
Go ahead, get up and get it. Yeah, we want to see. So she's gonna go bring her amazing plates. I ordered some, so I should be getting mine soon. I'm so excited for her. I just love it when women, just nurture that desire in them and decide to like, okay, I'm gonna go all out.
Yay! I didn't think of that.
Yay! Oh, look at that. Look at that.
The sister set. That's
yeah.
my redhead. One of the other ones I have to show, of course, is Zelda.
Yes.
There's Zelda.
Oh, like that's Zelda.
Zelda. So there's 4 of them. They all
4
have
sets. Yeah.
Eye color and coloring. So
and I am
4 sisters.
Yes. Oh, that's so cool. And I am going to put the link for the plate so that if you want to purchase, there's a link where you can go ahead and purchase. And I'll put her website there so you can learn more about, the stories behind the plates and, how she came up with them. And I just want to thank you, Amy, for coming out today and just sharing your story because people need to hear more stories. Like women our age, we need to hear more stories like this because this inspires and motivates us to kind of go out there and do, these amazing things because, society isn't very kind to women over 50, unfortunately.
No, not at all. And like you said, we want everybody to bet on themselves.
Yes, like seriously, like because I tell women all the time, listen, I don't care how many people you've saved in the world, nobody's coming to save you. And so betting on yourself is a way in which you can save yourself.
True.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you all of you for listening. I really appreciate all of you. And I'm going to put all the information about Amy's plates and her website all in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Amy. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to the show, you have to take a look at Flourish, my monthly online community for women in their 50s and beyond. We talk about the important issues affecting women in their 50s and over and provide tools and resources to help you live your best life. Join me by clicking the link Flourish Online Community in the About Me section below. I'd love to have you join me. See you there.